Welcome to the Illuminate Universe podcast, The Cast. Get it? The Cast? My name is Alina, and I'm the founder and CEO of Illuminate, where we mentor job seekers and help employers to fast track their business goals. I interview a celebrity cast of incredible individuals who have truly inspiring careers. We're talking about their work journey, the process of taking the leap to create a life and career they love, and what happens when they push aside their fears and doubts to unleash their fullest potential. Today, we speak with Rubaina Singla on entrepreneurship, the fashion industry, and mental health. Rubaina is the founder and CEO of Singla, investing in innovative materials to make all-lace lingerie, hence revitalizing the myth that sustainable fashion must compromise on.
Rubaina, how did your post-secondary experience lead you to where you are today? Would you say that you took a unique path to entrepreneurship?
I just never set out to be an entrepreneur specifically. It's a career path where people end up in for a variety of reasons. It's not your traditional subject area at school. There's not really a specific course or area of academia that leads you to entrepreneurship. It's more of like an intrinsic motivation and a personal thing. Definitely did not set out to become an entrepreneur, but through my love and passion for art and design and fashion and in building and creating it and being someone who loves to create something from scratch and see their vision come to life versus something from school leading you there. I find that most entrepreneurs and business people that I know that are entrepreneurial often kind of have this like intrinsic trait in them versus something that they learn externally. But I do feel like my post-secondary education at Western University specifically and at the Ivey Business School was really catered towards building my entrepreneurial skill set. So I feel like I had that intrinsic drive and that motivation and that skill set, but through the resources at Western, at Ivey, and the Morissette Institute for Entrepreneurship at Ivey Business School, they really do give student entrepreneurs the resources they need to succeed, whether it be through their accelerator program where my company has received pre-seed funding, or through their founders program where they give student entrepreneurs a vast amount of opportunities to connect with alumni. There's many successful, alumni from Western and across Canada who went to a lot of the business schools here that have their own businesses and are entrepreneurs. I do feel like the Morissette Institute for Entrepreneurship at Western, for me specifically, and being at Ivey Business School, having so many student organizations, mentors, advisors, alumni, people there to support you and build your business with you, I think makes a huge difference because they're basically eliminating all the barriers to entry for student entrepreneurs, which really is just like funding and advice, because you might have an idea, but maybe you don't have the advice, the push, the motivation, and that pre-seed funding to really get started and build up that MVP and that prototype. But I felt at my school, they kind of eliminated those barriers, which I think is awesome.
And can you tell me more about Singla? How did that come about?
Yeah, so Singla is a business that I started about 2.5 years ago. Born out of my love for the retail and fashion industry. I previously spent 4 or 5 years in both e-commerce as well as traditional retail sales at some of the top brands in Canada. Yeah, I think every industry right now is dealing with their own challenges in terms of sustainability, waste, energy emissions, water usage, all of those problems. Honestly, they're hitting every industry. But for me personally, long story short, I started Singla because I wanted to invest in creating products that were more sustainable. But I knew that most of the sustainable fashion brands out there were very basics oriented, right? You think of your Everlanes and Cottons and Patagonia, very inspired by basics and athleisure and cotton undergarments. But I personally think that for sustainable fashion to be democratized and for people to actually care about it and wear it every day, it needs to look and feel like real fashion. It needs to be beautiful. It needs to cater to what people actually want to wear on a day-to-day. And I personally felt like the underwear and lingerie industry hasn't innovated in a long time. So that's why I started Singla Intimates. We are a direct-to-consumer company focused on making sustainable, ethical, really high quality products at an affordable price.
Yeah, and I know for our audience of listeners and aspiring entrepreneurs, sometimes it can seem like entrepreneurship is so far away. And like you mentioned, there's so many barriers to entry. So we're curious, what does a day in your life look like as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting question, especially as I can resonate with the audience. And if you're in high school, I literally started Singla right at the end of grade 12. So I was in grade 12 when I started this company, and now I'm almost graduating college. I honestly did not even set out to do this, right? I started with a problem that I wanted to solve, that I was experiencing, that I saw, that I cared about, realized other people also cared about it, and then I took small steps in that direction. I could have scaled and grown faster. If you think too much about what everyone else is doing, you think about the competition and the fears, the barriers to entry, you're never going to get anywhere. It's just kind of about starting with one thing, one prototype, one idea. You have an idea or problem that you want to attack or you want to solve, tell someone about it, see what they think. Tell your 5 best friends about it, see what they think about it. If they also care about it, then maybe you're onto something. Then tell 5 more people, and then create a survey, ask people if they would buy it and how much they would pay for it. Just taking little steps. I don't know if they still do DECA in high school, but DECA was a big thing for me in high school. And I feel like that really built up my confidence and ability to speak to people and just understand the business world, build up my network. For high school students going into college, when you're in college, look for those communities of people where you'll find mentors, advisors. There's so many funding opportunities, pitch competitions, case competitions, anything you can do to expand your network, build your personal brand, get people to trust and believe in what you're saying and what you're building. It doesn't matter what the product or service you're selling is, it's about building your personal brand and building a network. And I feel like if you start with that, it'll become easier to get feedback on ideas.
I'm curious because you mentioned case competitions that help build your confidence. Alina actually mentioned that you won one of our competitions. So what was that like?
It was 5 years ago. I had no idea what Illuminate was. A friend messaged me like, hey, we get a gift card if we win this competition. And I was like, okay, sure, sign up. And it was a great experience. I remember it being sponsored by Deloitte, and we did the design thinking workshops by Deloitte, which was awesome. I think design thinking, for anyone interested in entrepreneurship or startups, should definitely read about design thinking and lean startup methodology. There's a book on that. I think both those concepts are just, they're thrown around a lot in the world of innovation. So that was really awesome that I got exposed to that really early on through Illuminate, because definitely now in the world that I'm in, with talking to founders, talking to VCs, talking to other brand owners, you have to know how to think on your feet and use design thinking principles to really quickly and pivot your business in startups all the time.
Yeah, I know like starting a business can often have its challenges, and being so young, there's so many things to learn and so many people to learn from. Did you have any major setbacks during your time at Singla, and what did you do to overcome those? How did that affect your business and how did you grow afterwards?
I'd say there's 2 major challenges with Singla. Firstly, more on the business side, definitely supply chain, right? I centered the business around innovating from the garment, from the products that we were creating. How are we sourcing the best sustainable recycled materials from suppliers around the globe, and getting in touch with these suppliers and building out a supply chain and the logistics to get the end product that we wanted during a pandemic. So I started this during COVID. I did the whole thing during COVID, where I couldn't go to trade shows, I couldn't visit my suppliers, my manufacturers, but still had to focus on quality control and trying to create the best product. So we ended up talking to manufacturers who said they would give the lead time was 2 to 3 months, and then it took them a year, for example, right? Or a manufacturer who said one thing about their manufacturing policies, but we find out they lied about having that certification. In the world of manufacturing and logistics, in fashion specifically, there's a lot of greenwashing on the B2B side. And to kind of get through that challenge, you kind of build up the skill set as an entrepreneur of cutting through the BS and becoming a detective and being able to understand who is potentially greenwashing or lying to you, or who's walking the walk, talking the talk. In the beginning, I neglected a lot of the contract making and the legal aspect of things, but now I've really learned the importance of having good contracts with manufacturers and logistics suppliers, of doing my due diligence with their people, meeting with the managers that work there, meeting with the design people that work in those factories, and really doing my due diligence for manufacturing. So that was a huge learning process. Learning from that, and also another like personal learning, the grit, the ability to keep going, because a lot of the stuff did not work out on the way, but we finally got the products that we wanted. And now we have a supply chain that we like, and it's like, how do we make it better? And once you have a basis, you can always build on that and change little things. But you have to be committed. You have to want to keep going. You have to believe that something will come out of the struggle, hitting a lot of walls with not finding what you want in a supply chain and the ecosystem of people you're using to build your business and build your community. It won't be perfect at first. It just never will be. And it might take, honestly, months and years for you to build a community of suppliers and customers and advisors and manufacturers and logistics providers and packaging quality and materials, everything that you want. You're not going to get it right the first time, but do you have the grit and do you have the will to keep trying, keep iterating on that? And I think that's a huge learning, business learning, but also like a life learning. I think it's just a good skill to have for life. Just at the beginning of your career, like even me, I'm just at the beginning of my career, but what I've learned is that in your teens and even throughout your 20s, throughout your late 20s, and over the next 10 years, it really is just a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of failure. There is no shortcut to your dream job, your dream career, to success, power, money, happiness, like whatever your goals are. There's no shortcut to those things. Do you have the ability to get back up after hitting a wall? The number one feeling that I've had for 2.5 years, even though I've loved building the brand and building the company and it's been awesome, is honestly just fear and self-doubt and anxiety. Those are emotions that I feel every single day. They honestly get worse every day. As an entrepreneur, it's your job to, as you're building your business, how do you cope with your mental health and those things? Because there's not a single entrepreneur that I've talked to that hasn't felt the weight of building something and dealing with that self-doubt and anxiety. It's an ongoing journey of building positive habits, self-affirmations, journaling, reading books, setting aside weekends and time where I'm not working. I know all this stuff sounds really, really basic, and it's stuff about mental health that gets thrown around all the time, and a lot of us didn't take it seriously. In high school, I definitely didn't take it seriously. I was a go-getter. I used to do so much stuff, and I thought my mental health would be fine. But for anyone listening to this, your mental health will not be fine if you think you can do everything all the time and you think you're invincible or non-susceptible to mental health challenges. That's not true at all.
Yeah. So if you had to reverse engineer this process and give hard advice to a younger audience, say yourself, even in grade 11 or grade 12, what hard advice or characteristics would you make sure your younger self would?
Just the importance of relationships and quality over quantity for sure. But both are really important. Obviously, everyone says that. Everyone says, yeah, like your network is your net worth or whatever. But I do think there's no harm in putting yourself in a new situation and meeting someone new. Nothing bad will ever come out of it. So definitely emphasize meeting new people in any way possible. But secondly, really fostering those relationships in an authentic, genuine way. Grab coffee with people, grab lunch with people. Don't go into conversations because you want something from them. Don't go into conversations because you're recruiting and you need an interview that month. Talk to people year round, build relationships with them, become friends with them, see how you can provide value to them. That's another huge thing. When you're talking to someone new, stop thinking about what you need, what you might potentially need from them, or what flashy title they have. Think about what they're saying, what they're working on. Think about how you can provide value, connect them to someone new, provide them with a new idea, provide value to them. The more you give, the more you get in the long run, and just really focus on fostering relationships early on.
That's so interesting. Of all the entrepreneurs I interview, they always talk about how they don't feel like they've arrived. So I really think it's more of a pursuit instead of a destination.
100%. In your teens and 20s, honestly, most entrepreneurs or people that I know, even in their late 20s, no one has any idea what they're doing. No one has achieved their goals that they set out for themselves because those goals are always changing. There's no destination that you get to that will make you happy. It just is about progress over perfection. If you feel like every day you're progressing a little bit, you learned something new, you tried something new, you achieved a little milestone, focus on that progress and the joy that you get from the day to day. Don't focus on achieving some end goal or getting successful or reaching some in the least amount of time. A few years later, I've realized that it doesn't matter to be perfect. It doesn't matter to set these really high standards for yourself. It more so matters to focus on progress and reinforcement instead of, I'm mad at myself. I haven't reached XYZ goal yet. I'm not there yet. Now I'm here. I want to be there. And that person is there. I want to be there. That will never make you happy. That is called using negative reinforcement to motivate yourself to do things probably in the appearing successful maybe to other people, but maybe not fulfilling yourself. So maybe just focusing on like the journey and progress on a day-to-day, way more important than trying to set unrealistic expectations for yourself or trying to set goals that are relevant. It's just more about how you grew from situations, what you learned, how you changed as a person, not so much about achieving sales of a certain amount or achieving a certain title at a company or having a certain brand label attached to you. Because there's no entrepreneur or mentor from students to really successful people that I talk to that get any sort of joy or validation out of running a billion-dollar company or working for X brand or X company. Like most people that I talk to are like, I thought that's what I wanted, and then I did it, and then I realized that's not even what I wanted. why are you doing what you're doing? Are you driven by the issues that you're trying to solve, the work that you're doing, the tasks that you're doing on a daily basis, the people that you're talking to and interacting with? Are they energizing you? Is your work energizing you? Work will never be 100% energizing, but if the reason you're doing stuff deep down is because you want to look a certain way or you want people to talk about you a certain way, or I think a lot of us don't realize sometimes that those are the things driving us. So thinking about the why that drives you, I think is always good.
I think our audience will really appreciate that.
Okay, I hope so. I hope to see what people think.
Me too. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for this podcast.
Thank you for having me.